Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. In today's video, we're going to once again be discussing events that transpired in the Harry Potter universe after the books and films ended. This is the second part in this series, so if you're wanting to learn about 10 more characters in addition to the 10 featured in this video, then I'll leave a link in the pinned comment. As I mentioned last time, with the latest Fantastic Beasts film on the way, The Secrets of Dumbledore, we can expect to learn even more information about the wizarding world before Harry, Ron and Hermione embarked on their journey at Hogwarts. However, what I want to hone in on today are the events that happened afterwards. Let's find out. Number 1. Umbridge. Umbridge is arguably the worst character in the entire Harry Potter story, and she first makes her mark when she infiltrates Hogwarts and makes life at the school a living hell, probably an understatement. That is, until she's tricked into travelling to the Forbidden Forest by Harry and Hermione, only to be met with a horde of angry centaurs who carry her off. After this, she's saved by Dumbledore and sacked from her headmistress position after it's revealed that Voldemort had in fact returned. Amazingly, however, Umbridge still found herself with a job after leaving Hogwarts. In fact, the Ministry accepted her back in her previous role of Senior Undersecretary to the Minister of Magic. Also, at this stage, the Ministry had a new minister, Rufus Scrimgeour. Despite a brief appearance at Dumbledore's funeral, the next we hear of Umbridge is in 1997, following Voldemort's takeover of the Ministry. In addition to her primary position of Undersecretary, Umbridge also became head of the Muggle-born Registration Commission, where she conducted trials that were effectively designed to prosecute Muggle-borns. Umbridge doesn't appear much more in the story after this, as there are bigger problems in the wizarding world, Lord Voldemort. However, with Voldemort's eventual downfall, the Ministry once again came under the control of normal witches and wizards, expunging all of Voldemort's followers from positions of power. The Ministry of Magic essentially underwent a reformation, led by a new Minister for Magic. Fully aware of the type of person that Umbridge was, and the crimes that she had committed during Voldemort's regime, the new minister had Umbridge arrested, tried, convicted, and given a life sentence to the island fortress of Azkaban, where she lived out her days. 2. Cornelius Fudge. Cornelius Fudge, Order of Merlin First Class, self-appointed, was the 32nd Minister for Magic, serving from 1990 to 1996, spanning most of the years Harry attended Hogwarts. Fudge exhibited some very questionable behavior during his time in office, the most questionable being his persistent denial of Voldemort's return, which in turn caused Fudge to meddle in all kinds of affairs in the wizarding world, including the management of Hogwarts School. When it was eventually proven that Voldemort had in fact returned, it cost Fudge his job, and Rufus Scrimgeour took over his position. At this stage, however, Fudge wasn't out of the Ministry entirely, as he was kept on in an advisory capacity, communicating news of the Second Wizarding War to the Muggle Prime Minister if Scrimgeour was unable to. When the war eventually ended, Fudge was relieved of this position as well. Fudge's fate is exactly what can be expected when a foolish and ineffectual person is given too much power. In the end, Fudge was scorned by the public and unemployed, quietly living the rest of his shameful existence out of the spotlight. Take the steps I've suggested, and you will be remembered, in office or out, as one of the bravest and greatest Ministers for Magic we have ever known. Fail to act, and history will remember you as the man who stepped aside and allowed Voldemort a second chance to destroy the world we have tried to rebuild. Albus Dumbledore. 3. Lockhart. In the Chamber of Secrets, Lockhart is forced by the boys to come down into the chamber with them, and this is where things really went south for him. Hoping to take control of the situation, Lockhart grabbed Ron's broken wand and attempted to perform a memory charm on them. The adventure ends here, boys. I shall take a bit of this skin back up to the school, tell them I was too late to save the girl, and that you two tragically lost your minds at the sight of her mangled body. Say goodbye to your memories. Obliviate. However, given that the wand was, well, broken, it backfired on Lockhart instead. The faulty wand sent him flying into a pile of rubble, and subsequently caused him to lose all of his memories. Complete amnesia. He was no longer the brave troll conqueror and dragon tamer. In fact, he didn't know who he was. Lockhart is later saved by Fawkes and brought to McGonagall's office, at which point it became apparent to staff and students alike that Lockhart had completely lost his marbles, with Dumbledore instructing Ron to take him to the hospital wing. After careful inspection, it was decided that Lockhart wouldn't be able to operate in society in the state that he was in, and he was subsequently sent to the Janus Thicky ward in St. Mungo's Hospital for Magical Maladies, a ward dedicated to those suffering from permanent spell damage. During Christmas in 1995, Harry, Ron, Hermione and Ginny saw Lockhart in the Janus Thicky ward, and despite the total loss of his memory, he seemed just as Lockhart as ever, offering up autographs and the like. He had regained just enough memory to remember writing in cursive. Teach? Me? Did I? Taught you everything you know, I expect, did I? Well, how about those autographs then? Shall we say a round dozen? You can give them to all your little friends then, and nobody will be left out. Sadly, Lockhart never got many visitors, but he still got fan mail from a witch named Gladys Gudgeon, and developed a close relationship with his carer, Miriam Sprout. Though Lockhart never made a full recovery, he did sign autographs for the rest of his days, and it has been expressed that he was happier that way, blissfully ignorant but more than happy to reap the benefits of his illustrious fame. To this day, no one knows if he ever properly left St. Mungo's. 4. Phileas Flitwick. Flitwick, Hogwarts resident charms expert and dueling champion, was largely responsible for casting many of the most effective defensive enchantments surrounding Hogwarts during the Great Battle at the end of the Second Wizarding War. These defenses kept the Death Eaters at bay for a considerable amount of time, and if it weren't for his charms expertise, then the battle may have gone very differently, as it allowed the good guys to get better prepared. Flitwick is thought to be one of the most talented charms teachers to ever teach at Hogwarts, and following the battle, Flitwick continued his tenure as charms master, diligently educating the next generations of witches and wizards on the topic. 5. Filch. Argus Filch, Squib, went on to assume the role of Hogwarts caretaker, succeeding the previous caretaker, Apollyon Pringle, in 1968. Throughout the books and films, Filch gives the trio, among many others, their fair share of grief. But when the Battle of Hogwarts came, Filch was quick to oversee the safe evacuation of most of the school's students. He may have been foul-tempered and bitter, but Filch took his job seriously, which is why you won't be surprised to hear that he continued on in his position of caretaker after the war had ended. Immediately after the battle, Filch was seen sweeping near the Great Hall. Filch is likely still punishing students and arguing with Peeves to this day. 6. Ollivander. Ollivander, first name Garrick, operated Ollivander's one-shop in Diagon Alley, one of Harry's first stops before beginning his first year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Ollivander revolutionized the way that wand-making was approached, and before he took over his father's one-shop, it was common for wizards to use a broad variety of wand cores. During the Second Wizarding War, Ollivander was tortured perhaps more than anyone else. This is due to Ollivander's knowledge of wands and Voldemort's obsession with the Elder Wand. After recovering at Shell Cottage for some time, Ollivander travelled to Muriel's house, where he remained until the end of the war. Fortunately, Ollivander ended up making a full recovery, and returned to work at his one shop shortly after Voldemort had been defeated, serving future witches and wizards for decades to come. 7. Kingsley Shacklebolt. Kingsley Shacklebolt was a British pureblood wizard, Order of the Phoenix member, powerful aura, and later Minister for Magic. Kingsley was a later addition to the Order, and joined during the Second Wizarding War. Kingsley was an immense help against Voldemort and the Death Eaters during the Wizarding War and after, helping to oversee the capture and containment of Death Eaters and Voldemort supporters after Voldemort's defeat. When the dust had finally settled, he was properly appointed as the 35th official Minister for Magic. He was previously just Caretaker Minister. In this role, among other acts, Kingsley helped to rid the Ministry of Corruption, banned Dementors from guarding Azkaban, appointed Harry as head of the Aura Department, and, along with Hermione, eradicated pro-pureblood views. 8. Pomona Sprout. Pomona Sprout was a British witch that taught at Hogwarts for many years. She served as both the head of Hufflepuff House as well as the head of the Herbology Department. Pomona proved to be instrumental in helping the good guys fight off the Death Eaters during the Battle of Hogwarts. Tentacular, Devil Snare, and Snargaluff pods. Yes, I'd like to see the Death Eaters fighting those. After the war, Sprout remained teaching at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry as Herbology Professor, and when 2008 rolled around, she was joined in the department by former pupil Neville Longbottom, who taught alongside her. 9. Arthur Molly Weasley. Let's start with Molly. Molly's heroic actions during the Second Wizarding War earned her quite the reputation, and she became quite well known as the witch that defeated and killed the notorious Death Eater Bellatrix Lestrange. Arthur continued working with the Ministry of Magic and fought to improve Muggle rights with the help of Kingsley Shacklebolt. Other than that, Molly and Arthur lived out the rest of their days quietly, enjoying the company of their dozen grandchildren. 10. Percy Weasley. Though Percy had trodden down a rather dubious path for most of the books and films, he did eventually make up with his family during the Battle of Hogwarts. Percy survived the battle, but, like the rest of his family, was significantly affected by the death of his brother Fred. After the war, Percy returned to work for the Ministry as a high-ranking official under the new Minister for Magic, Kingsley Shacklebolt. He married a woman named Audrey and had 2 daughters, Molly and Lucy. Molly was of course named after his mother. And that's it for this video. If you want to check out 10 more characters, check out part 1, which I'll link in the pinned comment. As always, if you enjoyed the content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.